Another red flag for examiners is slowing down during lane changes. It is strongly recommended that you do not do this during your driver's test.
It's important that you maintain a safe, consistent, and appropriate speed throughout your exam. Doing otherwise signals a lack of confidence in your driving ability.
Every lane change should be seamless, safe, and appear automatic. You can do this in 4 easy-to-remember steps. First, signal. Second, look in your mirrors. Third, look over your shoulder. And for this, you must exaggerate the movement of your head by turning your upper torso. Let the examiner know you are looking for traffic in the blind spot. And finally, go into the new lane. A perfect lane change can be performed by using the handy acronym SMOG, or S-M-O-G. Anytime you move laterally or side to side, you will need to smog. This includes lane changes, merging, and pulling to and away from a curb. These are 3 different instances in which you will always be looking over your shoulder before you make the move.
It's easy. 4 simple steps. Signal your turn. Look in your mirrors. The rear view mirror first, then the side mirror depending on which lane you are moving into. Look over your shoulder, then go into your new lane. And don't forget to turn your signal off once the lane change is complete. The turn signal will always turn off on its own if you make a left or a right turn. However, for a lane change, you will not be turning the steering wheel enough, so you will need to turn this off manually.
While it's perfectly legal to change lanes during a left or right turn under normal driving conditions, it is not okay to do this during your road test. The DMV examiner will expect you to stay in the same lane throughout your turn. To make a right turn from the far right lane, turn into the far right lane. If you're turning from the second to the far right lane, you want to turn into the corresponding lane on the new street, and so forth. The same is true for left-hand turns. If you're making a turn from the far left lane, turn into the far left lane on the new street.
What confuses some people is that it is actually legal to drift over into another lane when making a left turn. However, it is not as safe as turning into your own corresponding lane. Therefore, on your DMV test, it is actually considered an error.
Some streets have a special center left turn lane that you must use for left turns whenever this type of lane is present. However, you may only drive in this special lane for the last 200 feet before your turn. Conversely, if you are exiting a parking lot and turning left onto the street, you may only remain in the special lane for 200 feet before merging into the regular traffic lanes. While you are not likely to be tested on this point, it is perfectly legal to drive across the street where there is a special left turn lane.
If you are asked to drive in a parking lot during your exam, always scan, moving your head left and right for vehicles and pedestrian traffic, and travel at a safe speed. Always remember to stay to the right, even if there's no other traffic or any marked lanes. This is especially important for traffic circles or rings, such as the one in front of the DMV Driver Safety Office in Irvine, California, for example.
With cars coming and going, these rings can be confusing. The trick? Stay right. That way you can follow the circle to the street you want and still exit safely without crossing traffic from behind.
Remember, if you want to be right, stay right.
At some point during the drive test, the DMV examiner will ask you to demonstrate proper backing techniques by backing up in a straight line. When directed to do this, recall the smog technique as you pull over. Remember to be within 18 inches of the curb.
Back your car up while looking straight back over your right shoulder. This is very important because you can keep an eye on the sidewalk for pedestrians and still see any car behind you. It is perfectly okay also to temporarily drop your right hand from the steering wheel during backing maneuvers. No one expects you to turn your head around like an owl, but you do need to look over your right shoulder to look through the back window when forming this maneuver. Do this by turning from your hip up to your head. Take care, however, to maintain pedal control with your right foot. This is something that takes practice. But you may practice this technique looking back from the driver's seat in a car that is parked with the engine off. And no permit is required for that. Back up about 50 feet. Steering is the same as going forward. Turn the wheel to the left to go left, right to go right. Keep looking back until you have come to a complete stop in accord with your examiner's instructions.
After you come to a complete stop, turn around facing forward. Scan around. Then pull forward into traffic safely using the smog technique. Signal. Look in your mirrors, inside rear view first, then your left side mirror. Look over your shoulder. And if it's safe, go into traffic while still looking over your shoulder. Then turn forward. When you back up, move approximately 50 feet before stopping. The examiner will probably tell you when to stop. Then proceed to pull out into traffic again by first signaling, looking in your mirrors, looking over your shoulder, and then going into the new lane. Remember to always cancel your turn signal once you're in the flow of traffic. The important thing to remember about driving on the freeway is to go with the flow of traffic as much as possible without exceeding the speed limit. When entering freeway traffic, transition smoothly from the on-ramp into the traffic lane as early as possible. When driving on the freeway, you want to enter, merge, and exit without impeding the flow of traffic. Do not straddle two lanes at one time.
You never want to be in two lanes at once. And when you're ready to exit the freeway, remember to make the transition smoothly. And don't forget your new smog procedure. Examiners watch for this closely.
As you approach an intersection, always check for traffic, including from behind and from the sides. If a stop is required, stop behind the line or with adequate space between your vehicle and the one in front of you. If you cannot see the rear tires of the vehicle in front of you, you are too close.
As you approach the intersection, you want to make a full and complete stop, not what some people refer to as a California roll. Be sure not to enter the crosswalk or go over the line. But once you've made a complete stop, it is okay to inch forward with caution to better check for traffic. If it is clear, you will not need to stop a second time before proceeding. When it's safe to go, proceed with the turn or across the intersection, keeping a lookout for oncoming cars in both directions.
Sometimes people can't tell if they're completely stopped. To make sure, press on the brake a little harder after you believe you're at a complete stop.
This is an important tip for taking your test. You want to make sure that you come to a complete stop and are not still moving. To test yourself, come to what you believe is a complete stop. Then push down on the brake extra hard. But if the car lurches to a complete stop, you are not stopping correctly.